Hey folks, today what we're going to do is we're going to talk just a little bit about how to grind fullers. So right here you can see I'm working on a sword, double-edged sword with a fuller going down the middle of it. And one question is, how do you get a nice straight fuller? Now, they can be tricky. There's a lot of different things that go on with putting fullers in. You got to make sure that you're cutting to the right depth and everything. You don't cut through, because obviously as you're coming in with a wheel from either side, you have the possibility of breaking through in the center. So you always want to make sure that you're keeping an eye on the thickness of the center web of your fuller. Now, for this one, I have this 3-inch wheel, and I have a rest here on my grinder. So the thing that we want to do is, once you get your grinder going, I don't actually have a belt on here right now, but once you get the grinder going, what you do is you take a board. You want to make sure that you have a nice straight board, and you're going to run the grinder and run the board across your steady rest. Now what that's going to do is going to leave this groove here. So now you know exactly where that wheel is going to cut as far as your board goes. You can make a jig that is made from angle iron with like tapped holes and things like that, and we've used that in the past. But honestly, I find the board works really well, and the nice thing about it is that it's light and it's easy to move around. Now that we have that line cut, we know where that fuller is going to be. So you can see that what I've done is put a couple screws in here across the edges there. So now my tip can go in here. I have another screw back here that I put in, and I just make sure that everything lines up nicely. Once I put that, that first screw in, I adjust it to make sure that this is going to rest on that center line. Also, it's a good idea to strike a center line down your sword so you know where everything's looking. And then, you just take your other screw, you snug up, and there you go. Boom. And now you can sit here and you can go across. Now, one thing is, if this can shift back and forth, you need to be very careful about that. That's one advantage of using the angle iron. But having this shift back and forth also gives you the ability to change where your fuller is coming in. So if you're coming across and you look and you say, oh, well, I feel like I'm a little proud to this side, you can kind of kick it back a little bit and adjust how your fuller comes in. But that is the basics. And as you're doing your fullers, you want to make sure that, because cleaning up fullers is always a pain in the butt. We all know that, because you're polishing the inner part of a circle so you can always go up grits on your machine. So instead of just cutting this in at a 36, what I'll do is I'll cut it in a 36, I'll go to 120, I'll bring it up to a 400 grit on the grind, and use the machine for that. And that means that my polishing of the fuller ends up, that time gets cut down by quite a bit, because I've already brought it up and it's all nice and smooth and straight. And then from there, if you have adjustments that need to be made, you can make them. I often will go in with like a file on my edges to, if your fuller has some wave to it, using a file to clean that up is generally the best way to go, moving material nice and slowly and deliberately. But anyways, that is the basics on how to approach fullering on swords. I hope that this was a helpful tip. And if you guys have any questions about it, or other things that you would like us to make videos about, please leave a message in the comments, let us know, and we'll be sure to make sure that we're sure to do the sure thing, which is providing the content that you want. Anyways, let's go back. Phil, let's go back. So that is the basics on how to put a fuller in a sword and get things cleaned up to minimize the amount of work. So I hope that was helpful. If you guys have any questions about this process or want to see a video about a different process, let us know in a comment, and we'll try to make sure that we get to addressing that. Hope all's well, and we'll see you guys soon.